There's something strange going on inside of you, something you've probably never questioned. You hear thoughts all day, they narrate your life like a non-stop commentator, and you've just accepted that as you. But let me ask you something. Really think about this. If you're the one hearing your thoughts, who's the one listening? That little pause you just felt right now, that silence after the question, that's you. Not the thoughts, not the voice in your head that just tried to explain it away. You are the awareness underneath it all. But here's the plot twist. Most people never realize that. They're too busy being their thoughts instead of noticing them. And when that happens, when you confuse your mind for your identity, life becomes heavy. Suddenly, every negative thought feels personal, every fear feels real, and every moment gets filtered through a chaotic mind you don't even control. And it's not your fault. You were born into a world that trained you to over-identify with your mind, to think more, to analyze more, to fix everything up here. But somewhere along the way, we lost touch with the most peaceful truth. You are not your thoughts. You are the one experiencing them. And once you really grasp that, everything changes. See, your mind is a powerful tool, right? It's incredible at solving problems, planning trips, or figuring out how to politely escape small talk at parties. Important stuff like that. But the trouble comes when your mind starts trying to handle things it was never meant to deal with. Big existential things like your identity, your worth, or your happiness. Imagine giving your calculator the job of choosing your life partner. Ridiculous, right? Yet that's exactly what we do when we trust our noisy thoughts to define who we really are. Most people walk through life believing every thought they have is absolute truth. If their mind says, "You're not good enough," they take it as gospel. If their mind warns, something will go wrong, they panic, as if it's already happened. But here's the truth, and it's a bit weird when you think about it. Your mind literally makes stuff up all the time. Seriously, how many times have you worried about something that never actually happened? Probably. Too many times to count, right? Your thoughts aren't facts. They're more like opinions your mind throws at you endlessly, hoping you'll take the bait. And unfortunately, we usually do. Over and over. But what happens if you stop taking every thought so seriously? What if, instead, you start observing them casually, with just a little curiosity and maybe a slight smile, like you're watching a funny little movie in your head that doesn't always make sense? Well, the first thing you'll notice is how much quieter life gets. Not because your mind suddenly stops talking, that rarely happens, but because you stop believing that constant chatter is you. And let me tell you, that's one of the greatest realizations you'll ever have. Because the real you, the you who's watching these thoughts, has always been quiet, peaceful, and completely untouched by the noise. And I know what you might be thinking now. Okay, sounds nice, but easier said than done, right? And yes, it might feel a bit tricky at first, because we're so used to taking our thoughts seriously. But once you practice this even a little bit, you'll quickly see how naturally and effortlessly your perspective shifts. You'll realize something incredible, that you're actually allowed to disagree with your mind. You don't have to buy every thought it tries to sell you. Just like when a salesperson knocks on your door, you don't buy everything they offer, right? You politely say, "No thanks," and close the door. It can be that simple with your mind too. Suddenly, anxiety lessens, stress drops, and clarity increases. You feel lighter, not because anything external changed dramatically, but because you finally remembered who you actually are beneath all that mental noise. And let's be clear, this isn't about ignoring reality or forcing positivity. It's not about pretending your mind doesn't exist or becoming some kind of emotionless Zen robot. Not at all. It's about realizing that your mind is a wonderful assistant, but a terrible master. It's about understanding deeply, practically, that you don't need to believe every passing thought just because it popped into your head. And trust me, once this clicks, you'll wonder how you ever let your mind boss you around for so long. Now, here's something fascinating that nobody ever tells you about your mind. It doesn't actually care about your happiness. Surprising, right? Think about it. Your mind evolved to keep you alive and safe, not fulfilled or deeply peaceful. It's fantastic at spotting danger or planning for survival, but it's terrible at finding inner contentment. It's why you can have everything you thought you wanted, the job, the relationship, the achievements, and still wake up feeling restless or incomplete. It's because the mind isn't built to sit back and appreciate life. Its job, literally, is to constantly look for what's wrong, what's missing, what might hurt you next. Imagine it like a security guard whose job is to protect a museum, right? No matter how peaceful or safe things look, that guard is always alert, always suspicious, always looking for potential threats, even if there's absolutely nothing there. Your mind works exactly the same way. It's constantly on guard, scanning your life, your relationships, your job, even your own sense of self, always pointing out potential issues, doubts, and fears. It's no wonder we're often anxious, exhausted, or dissatisfied. We've mistaken this relentless security guard for who we truly are. The real tragedy happens when we start defining ourselves by what this mental security guard tells us. If it says, "You haven't done enough," we believe we're inadequate. If it warns, "People won't like you," we think we're fundamentally unworthy. But if you just pause, step back, and really look at these thoughts carefully, you realize most of them have absolutely no evidence to support them. None, yet we accept them without question. But what if we stopped taking every mental alert so seriously? What if we treated these fear-based thoughts more like harmless false alarms rather than urgent warnings? Imagine the relief you'd feel if you realized most of your anxious thoughts don't actually have a real basis in reality. They're more like spam emails that you don't need to open every single time they land in your inbox. And here's the beautiful part of this shift. The moment you clearly see your mind's nature, always alert, always worried, you automatically gain distance from it. You realize that these thoughts don't define you and that you have a choice about whether to believe them or let them go. Just imagine how freeing it would feel to live from this place of clarity instead of anxiety. See, most people spend their entire lives believing every single thing their mind tells them. But the people who seem most at peace, most comfortable with themselves, they aren't those without problems or fears. They're simply the ones who've learned to gently question their mind's constant alerts instead of automatically reacting to them. And this isn't just theory. It's profoundly practical, because when you create this kind of mental space, you start responding to life rather than reacting to it. You start moving through your days with greater intention and less anxiety. You start enjoying the small moments again, not because you forced yourself to think positively, but simply because you stop taking every negative thought as absolute truth. You begin realizing deeply, practically, that your mind is a tool, not your master. It's a voice you can listen to, yes, but not one you need to automatically trust every single time it speaks up. And in the space of that realization lies incredible freedom. Life suddenly feels lighter. You smile more easily. You're not constantly dragged down by unnecessary mental noise. And you find yourself wondering why nobody taught you this earlier. Why this simple, profound understanding isn't common knowledge. Because here's the truth. Once you realize you are not your thoughts, you instantly reconnect with something deeper, something quiet and powerful, something that's been patiently waiting inside you your whole life. You know, people often say things like, "I just want to stop overthinking," or "I wish I could turn my mind off for once." But here's the interesting thing. Your mind doesn't actually need to be turned off. It just needs to be understood differently. Think of your mind like an overly enthusiastic helper who really wants to assist you, but isn't always great at knowing when to step back. It sees your silence, your quiet moments, as a blank canvas. and it immediately tries to fill it with something, anything, because that's what it believes is its job. Your mind literally fears emptiness, so it races to fill silence with noise, questions, worries, or ideas. And you've probably noticed that most of these thoughts aren't exactly helpful, right? Here's a simple yet powerful truth you can use immediately. When your mind gets noisy or chaotic, instead of fighting it or resisting, just gently acknowledge it. Literally say something internally like, "Okay, mind, I hear you. Thank you for trying to help, but I've got this." You'd be surprised how quickly your thoughts begin to settle when they're simply acknowledged rather than suppressed or judged. The issue most people face is that they try to fight their minds, resist their thoughts, or push them away entirely. But resisting your mind is like fighting quicksand. The harder you struggle, the deeper you sink. The solution isn't fighting harder, it's relaxing more. It's accepting that your thoughts exist without needing to be controlled or managed constantly. It's becoming comfortable, letting thoughts come and go naturally without grabbing hold of every single one. And let me make something clear. This doesn't mean you become passive or indifferent. Not at all. It means you become intentional. You consciously choose which thoughts to engage with and which to let drift by. Just like traffic on a busy street, right? You don't try to stop every car that passes. You simply watch them go. Some thoughts might honk loudly for attention, but ultimately, it's up to you to decide which ones deserve your focus. Now, let's go a little deeper here. Why do we get so caught up in our thoughts in the first place? Often, it's because we confuse thinking with identity. We mistakenly believe every thought that passes through our heads says something important about who we are as a person. But here's the beautiful secret. Your identity isn't something you think into existence. It already exists, quietly and confidently, beneath all mental chatter. Your real identity is deeper and more stable than any thought, feeling, or story your mind creates. Your thoughts constantly shift and change, but the awareness beneath them is always stable. It's always calm, always present, always here. And when you reconnect with this deep awareness, life becomes simpler and clearer, almost effortlessly. Here's a practical step you can try today. Something small but incredibly effective. The next time you feel overwhelmed by thoughts or anxiety, pause for just a second, take a deep breath, and quietly notice your mind's activity. Don't judge it, don't fight it, just observe it. And then ask yourself one simple question. Who is observing these thoughts right now? Because whoever is noticing your thoughts isn't actually caught up in them, right? They're separate, calm, and clear. The moment you realize this, the moment you truly see there's space between you and your thoughts, you've touched a profound truth about yourself. And once you've felt that truth, you can't unfeel it. You realize you don't have to get dragged along by every anxious or negative thought. You have the option, always, to gently step back, breathe, and return to a deeper sense of yourself. And suddenly, life feels less complicated. Problems feel less threatening. Emotions feel less overwhelming. Not because external circumstances instantly changed, but because your relationship with your own mind changed at the deepest possible level. This shift in understanding isn't temporary. It's profound and lasting. Once you've glimpsed the freedom of knowing you're not your mind, your entire perspective on life shifts permanently. You see your mind as an incredible companion rather than a controlling master. And from that perspective, every challenge becomes manageable. Every moment feels fresh, and peace becomes not just possible, but natural. Think about it this way. Your mind, with all its noise and chaos, is like a storm at sea. On the surface, everything looks wild and uncontrollable. Waves crash, the wind blows, and it seems like things might never calm down. But beneath that stormy surface, deeper in the ocean, the water remains perfectly calm, quiet, and untouched by the chaos above. This deeper part, that's the real you. That's your true self, always calm, always steady, always present beneath the noise of your surface-level thoughts. But most people live their entire lives only noticing the surface storms. They never realize there's an untouched depth beneath all that mental chaos. And because of this, they spend their days believing their entire reality is the storm. Always caught up, always stressed, always looking for ways to quiet the waves, without realizing the deeper peace available right below. The incredible truth is, you don't need to completely quiet your mind to experience peace. This is a huge misunderstanding. People often spend years trying to silence every thought, feeling like a failure if their mind still occasionally races. But peace isn't the absence of thought. It's the absence of identification with thought. It's realizing that even when your mind is noisy, you can still rest in that calm, stable awareness beneath the noise. This is a subtle but profound distinction that changes everything. When you grasp it, life instantly feels lighter. Stressful thoughts become like clouds in the sky, moving across your awareness, but never permanently affecting it. You start to understand deeply that you're not obligated to get swept away by each passing thought or emotion. You have the power to remain centered, stable, and clear, even in the midst of chaos. And here's the best part. The more you practice connecting with this deeper awareness, the easier it becomes. It's not something reserved for monks, yogis, or people meditating hours each day. It's accessible to anyone willing to simply notice their own experience with curiosity rather than judgment. It's available every single moment, whether you're at work, at home, walking down the street, or lying awake at night. The moment you notice yourself caught in mental noise, you instantly have the power to pause, breathe, and return to that deeper sense of calm presence. Think about how powerful this skill is practically. Imagine being in the middle of a stressful day, your mind racing with tasks, worries, or doubts, and instead of getting pulled into chaos, you simply recognize the storm, acknowledge it, and sink gently beneath it. You don't fight it, you don't panic. You calmly reconnect with that quiet space within yourself. Suddenly, your mind clears, your breathing slows, and your stress naturally subsides, all because you remembered something incredibly simple. You are not the storm. You're the calm beneath it. But there's an even deeper level here. Once you understand this, you begin to see other people differently too. You start recognizing their mental storms for what they are, temporary noise. You become less reactive, less judgmental, and more compassionate. You begin seeing clearly that everyone around you is also struggling with the same mental noise, the same illusion of being caught in their thoughts. Your relationships improve dramatically, not because other people have changed, but because you've become deeply aware of your own mind and the minds of those around you. You respond rather than react, listen rather than judge, and connect rather than conflict. This is how awareness transforms your entire life, not by solving every external problem or eliminating every negative thought, but by changing your fundamental relationship with your own mind. You no longer feel threatened by mental chaos because you clearly understand that chaos is temporary, and beneath it always lies your true self, calm, present, and always okay. If you've watched this far, drop the words "deeper awareness" in the comments below, just so I know you truly felt this. And as always, protect your peace. It's your greatest strength.